This is Scott Richmond.
And Arnie Sherman.
You're listening to What Do You Know on Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM. Arnie, good morning.
Good morning, Scott. It's an early morning. We're doing an early morning taping, which we usually don't do. And the topic for today, it doesn't really fit with early mornings, but we're going to suck it up and talk about beer today. Do you know that beer is the third most consumed beverage on the planet, even more than coffee? Water, tea, beer.
Really?
Yes. Third most consumed beverage on. And beer has been around since 10,000 BC. They used to pay the slaves that built the pyramid in 4 to 5 liters of beer a day.
Are you kidding?
That's how they kept them. Beer was healthy enough to keep them working as slaves, and that's how they fed them, with beer.
Lager.
Yeah, lager. And there are over 3,000 breweries in the United States. We have over 75 in Montana. For 1 million people, there are 75
It's incredible.
breweries. There's even 75 hospitals in the state.
Is it one of the fastest growing industries?
Well, yeah, I think the microbrewery part of it certainly is. I mean, we have 75 breweries in Montana, and there are 10 under construction.
You're kidding.
And that just seems. I think we have the second or third highest beer consumption per capita of any state. But it does seem like that's an awful lot of places to get beer compared to how many people that live here.
And the Montana Brewers Association, which, as you know, represents most, if not all, the breweries in the state, will be holding their conclave at the end of September, around time for Brewfest.
Right.
And each year it gets bigger.
Sure.
Each year gets bigger, and there is a lot of good conversation happening.
The big changes, and I should have said not places to get beer. There are thousands of places to get beer.
Right.
But places that brew, and now the new trend, which are microbreweries, where you go and eat and socialize in the very facility where the beer is being brewed.
Exactly.
And today on today's show we have Hugh Gates, who is the co-owner and founder of the latest brewery that just opened in the last few days in Montana, Conflux Brewery. My biggest worry about, if there was no beer, you wouldn't have any country music.
You're right.
I was listening to Kiss on the way in, and 3 songs in a row. Sitting in the water, drinking my beer. In my truck with my dog and my beer, my girlfriend, beer, and me. I mean, it's an integral part of American life and American history. Grabbing a beer.
And Montanans love their beer.
And historically, I mean, there are 14 countries in the world that in some way ban alcoholic beverages, and beer is the most consumed alcoholic beverage. And
wow.
So, and even parts of the United States, there still are dry counties in the United States where you can't get alcohol or beer.
I think we know some of those counties.
Yes.
Right.
But today we're going to find out, I think, from Hugh, why he wanted to enter the treacherous waters of competitive micro brewing in Montana. And
I know through your podcast, you're very interested in companies like Conflux because it's a small business and it's a new business.
Yeah, new business, new startup, entrepreneur, and it's a tough business. I mean, it's not like we don't have other microbreweries in Missoula. There are a dozen of them. So, I mean, the biggest question in my mind is, why did he do it, and why does he think he can compete in that kind of marketplace?
I agree with you. And location. He happens to be on a great...
He has a good location in the heart of downtown.
He really is. All right, we'll be back right after this with Hugh Gates, co-owner of Conflux. Okay, we are back with Hugh Gates from Conflux.
Good morning, Hugh.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's going good.
Good.
So, right off the bat, what led you to build Conflux Brewery in the heart of downtown Missoula?
It was actually the lot there at 200 East Main was the first lot that our real estate agent showed us, and our original idea was not quite to go that big and that, I guess, in focus in Missoula. The more we looked around, the harder it was to find any inventory and real estate for our idea, and we just kept coming back and circling back to that lot, and it worked out really well, and we couldn't ask for a better location and setup.
Good. And what was your idea that you were trying to percolate?
Yeah, so my idea, I'm more of a restaurant operations guy from my past. I've opened, this is like my 8th restaurant I've opened, and so I've been very fortunate through my career to work with some great people and learn a lot of good stuff. And so my idea was to create a true brew pub. There's you go to a lot of other places, and there's a lot of that happening, and there's not a ton in Missoula yet. And so I felt like Missoula was just kind of ready for something a little different on the brewery scene.
Would we know some of the other places that you opened?
Yeah. Way back, Knapp's Grill, when it was where Tamarack is downtown.
Yeah, Knapp's Grill.
That. When Finn and Porter revitalized from the Doubletree, I opened that. Paws Up, and I used to work with the Hilton Garden Inn and Blue Canyon Group, and I opened 3 of their properties in the state.
Wow. I know. Furnish us with a little biographical information. You're from Montana originally?
Yep. Grew up, born and raised here, and lived in Lolo and grew up in Lolo. Graduated from school there and Big Sky High School, and kind of traveled around with working a little bit, but just always loved Montana. And so was up in the Flathead for about 7 years and just wanted to get back in town. And so I've been back in Missoula for about 5 years now.
Excellent.
I have to ask you this. We're going to focus a lot on your new venture, but the restaurant space, the beer space, the I guess the mixture of, entertainment and sports bars and all that, is a competitive business sector. When you open Knapp's, and Knapp's has been in Hamilton forever and ever and ever, we opened one in Missoula. It didn't last. What happened?
I'm not exactly sure. When I opened that, I was like 21, and so I was just slinging burgers like crazy and not really seeing the numbers come in type thing. So I would assume that for whatever they were doing in that space, it just wasn't quite the volume they were looking for. But I can't answer that fully.
Sure.
And this was your first venture, and this Conflux is your first venture on your own.
It is. Yep.
That must have been a scary kind of prospect.
It's extremely scary. Yeah. It's.
Tell us about that.
Well, you go into this, and our original idea was like, maybe let's look down the Bitterroot a little bit and find an old building and just kind of refurbish it up a little bit, and then the idea keeps growing, and you just realize how great and ripe Missoula is with all the development and growth going on. And I'm Lolo. I've lived in Missoula for 15, 20 years after I graduated high school, so I was hoping to find a spot in Missoula, and it's just when you see the magnitude and you get that space and you need to do the space right for what it is and where it is, you realize how big of a leap you got to take. And
sure,
kind of once you get over that mental hurdle of, okay, let's do this, let's dive in. It's definitely scary, but it couldn't have turned out better, and we've had an awesome reception from Missoula.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you have to secure outside financing to get it done?
Oh yeah, I'm past my eyeballs in debt for sure.
Well, what was that experience like, going in there and sitting in front of the bankers and laying out your model to them?
Yeah, it was great. We have a great relationship with Trail West Bank, who is our lender. And they did a lot of good coaching and counseling with me, and kind of helped me along the business process. And we presented to 6 different banks, and it was great to see the response from everyone, and that helped us buy into the idea of what we were doing, because of showing and seeing the model that we're going after, and the business idea, and it was a great feedback from that side of it. And so you get these people that see all these different business pitches, and they realize that we might be onto something pretty good.
Right. And you decided to go beyond just having a tavern or a restaurant bar to actually being a brewer.
Yep.
So what was your thought process there?
Yeah, I guess a couple different ones. Being born and raised here, I definitely love the craft beer scene. Missoula is just an amazing, amazing craft beer setup. And so growing up with Big Sky, Bayern, Kettle House, all the good stuff in town, I've always been a huge advocate for craft beer. And when you look at the pricing on and the availability on liquor or full, beer and wine licenses, it's just not as realistic in some situations. And so it made sense to go down the brewing side of stuff. And we have an amazing brewer on board who is just, for just starting out, he's knocking it out of the park. And it's exciting to have that. And it fit right in with our idea from kind of trying to make as much product as we can from in-house and from scratch. It married in really well.
Well, you mentioned earlier also the brew pub idea, which means there's an maybe almost equal weight on the food menu.
Yep.
So tell our listeners a little bit about what you serve there, because a lot of the breweries around don't have much of a, or some of them don't have any, real food menu, and you have a pretty expansive one. So why don't you talk about the thought that went into that and what you offer on the food side?
For sure. The food piece, that's definitely my comfort zone. So it was a fun process. It started off as we just wanted to be as local and source as locally as possible. And Montana and Western Montana, and especially Missoula and going down the Bitterroot, have some amazing opportunities to source some great products. And so we've been very fortunate and paired with a great handful of people that are in Missoula or right around Missoula. And so the food piece really started there, and we kind of had some fun with which direction could we take it. And so it's definitely kind of fits into that pub feel. But almost everything we do is made in-house. Like we have a smoker, we smoke our own brisket, we smoke a lot of different things for
you smoke
for
duck,
salads.
don't you? You have a duck carbonara on the menu?
We do. We have a duck carbonara on the menu. We make duck confit we have a kind of a southern style poutine dish on the menu. And again, everything we make stocks, we make everything in-house from scratch, pretty much whatever we can do. So,
and that's an unusual thing.
It is, yeah.
We love food here. Arnie and I love talking about food, too.
We have to come in and just sample the way through the menu.
We will. I've already checked the menu out, and it seemed very appealing because you had some typical bar fare, right? Yeah. You have burgers and you had BLT and all that, but then you have a more I guess a more dinner type offerings and entree type offerings, and those are very appealing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some fun setups on there. We bring in fresh halibut when it's available, and we'll kind of rotate through different seafood items. And the pork belly on the BLT, I mean, we get whole sides from Lolo Locker, and we smoke it, braise it, slice it up nice and thick, so it's not your traditional BLT. And then we tried to kind of throw a fun southern flair onto as much as we could. My parents are both from the South, and so I haven't spent a ton of time down there, but family vacations and stuff like that kind of gave me that fun influence, and I think it fits in well with what's in Missoula.
When did they make their way up to Montana?
You put me on the spot. I would say...
And why?
Kind of late 70s, early 80s. They went to school, Washington State, and over in Oregon for a little bit. My dad's a geologist. And so, really, the geology side of things kind of led them to the West, and they landed in Lolo for something and just didn't want to move out. How
great is that?
Yeah.
And now you're going to combine both geographies.
And you have a partner in this business?
Yeah, my fiance is my partner as well.
And how do you define your roles?
Yeah,
considering she's not your wife yet, she's your fiance, and you probably want to move her into the next other category. There could be lots of challenges of having a partner and deciding what roles you're going to both take.
Yeah, no, we kind of tried to map it out as well as we could early on. My strong point was kind of the operation side, and hers is definitely she's been in service, sales, distributing, stuff like that in her past, and so she's kind of taken on the back office role, and once we get into hopefully throwing our product out there beer-wise into the market, she'll kind of take the lead on that as well.
Lots of times in this business, there are a number of part-time employees, and we're a university town, and next week there'll be an influx of 12,000 students.
Well, this week they're coming in. This week,
right? They're coming in already.
You're right, but next week when the classes start,
right? You opened before students came back. Where'd you find your employees? How many employees do you need, and where'd you find them?
Yeah, so our original business plan, we thought we were going to have around 30 to 35 employees, and we ended up landing on almost 60 total, which is just a massive.
That's daunting in itself, hiring 60 people.
And so we got super fortunate, and I think it was just what we were doing, and our location led us to a lot of amazing people. I mean, you come in and we've had so many comments. We've only been open for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and we've had so many comments about how awesome and how seasoned our staff seems to be. And so it's, that adds on to just the location piece we have and our business model, and to have that service right from the get-go is pretty amazing. And I expected the hiring to be a huge challenge with just how low the unemployment is in our area.
And other places that have opened, like Sakatumi, and I mean, there's a lot of other new places. Andy Halloran's going to be opening 3 or 4 rrestaurants. 2 blocks away from you.
Yeah.
But like we said in our interview with Drake over at Sakatumi, the rising tide lifts all boats. Do you kind of ascribe to that?
Oh, absolutely. I think that the more the neater, the more individual the cuisines and types of establishments, and the people that really understand the full backbone of it, it's going to lift everyone. And so I know Drake from Big Fork, and I love going into Sakatumi here.
Me too,
and,
yeah.
He was here on one of our opening nights, and it was awesome to catch up and just know that we just went through kind of the same hurdles together type thing.
Isn't it nice? You know, Arnie, this is like nirvana for you and I. Arnie, and I mean, when I say that Arnie and I talk about food all the time because we're both from back east,
yeah,
and obviously back east where you kind of have the pick of the litter, whatever you want. And being here, there hasn't been as much choice until maybe, you know, the last 18 months when all this development's been going on.
I always kid on previous shows. I used to live in Stevensville and drive back and forth into Missoula to work at the university. And I said half of my meals were eaten at gas stations because there wasn't much on the way from Stevensville into Missoula.
No, it's tough picking sometimes. Absolutely. No, it's great to see. And, you know, I think people coming up with some creative ways and ideas to do some of these things. You know, some of the liquor laws kind of hold back and stifle some of the business, I think, in Montana. But it seems like we're trying to be a little more progressive and go down a different path with some of that. And I think that'll open up a lot more opportunities for a lot of people that possibly might not be able to afford coming in, and hopefully they can.
Let's do a quick ID. Our guest is Hugh Gates. He is the co-owner with his fiancée. What's her name?
Megan Cascara.
Megan Cascara of Conflux here in town, newest brewery in town.
Well, one of the things that might happen, maybe unintentionally, is given your menu and the, you know, all of the things you've just talked about being, you know, farm to table kind of approach, people might start looking at Conflux as a place to go eat and then drink beer. Instead of where's the best place to eat, you know, to get beer. You can get beer in lots of places, but you can't get, you know, poutine everywhere.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no,
I mean, that may become a strong suit for you.
I hope it does. You know, Montana and breweries have such a great following that I think we'll grab a lot of that beer crowd and people wanting to try out our stuff. And then our hope was to just surprise the heck out of them with our food and just give them something that they're totally not expecting. And that's been a pretty common feedback.
I mean, I'm not a beer drinker. You know, unfortunately for you, I'm not a beer drinker, but I'm certainly a food eater. And I looked at the menu and I said I'm interested in going.
Sure.
With people that drink, you know, other people who drink beer, but I'm interested in going and sample the menu because the menu seems to be very fresh and a different cut on things than you would normally find.
Awesome. Which is exciting. Yeah, it's interesting. So, like with the beer, like how did you guys? Because I think I met you and your wife, maybe it was last year or the year prior at the MBA at one of the conferences, and I think you guys were just talking about we're. And I know it's your fiance. She was saying we're going to be getting financing, and she was talking all about that. How did you determine and decide what type of recipes you were going to use for your beer, and how did you kind of develop that whole plan?
Yeah, so our brewer is a guy named Seth Orr. He comes with a ton of experience. He kind of has a little kettle house background back in the day, and he's done kind of the contract thing, and he's helped open up and design a lot of projects around. He used to be a part owner in a place called Luminous Brewing in Wyoming, and so he brings just a ton of years of experience down the line, and he has a handful of recipes he brought and that he kind of retweaked to fit into what we want to do, and he's a very collaborative, and so is everyone really at our place, especially in our leadership team, very collaborative mindset in everything we're doing, and so it's fun to just sit down together and talk food, talk ideas, talk events, talk beer, and just kind of see what comes out.
And how many different types of beer are you kind of currently offering?
Yeah, right now we have 7 beers on tap. We got one more in the lineup coming out in about a week and a half, and we hope to have 4 to 5 mainstays and then up to 12 different on tap at the same time.
Wow! And what is the most popular right now?
Popular, we got 2 that are kind of leading the way. IPA for sure. Our first batch IPA was a big hit, and then our second one we did an apricot wheat beer, and we got like 60 pounds of apricots from people in Missoula, and made that with, and it's been a huge hit, especially with the hot summer deck we have. That's
awesome.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Do you have since I haven't been to the place, but I gotta go. Do you have coolers on the deck?
We do. We kind of have sunshade set up. We have a misting system set up too. So awesome. We try to stifle that as much as we can.
And you're a lot closer to the river than some of the other breweries. So.
Yeah. No, it's cool. You sit up on our upper patio and you can just check out the whole canyon and the M, and it's great. People watching for downtown, especially.
That's why I love going to breweries.
Yeah.
So, did you contemplate having the production capability to produce more than you could serve, and then enter the retail marketplace?
Yeah, a little bit. It was kind of a tricky balance of our location and what we could fit where, and so we tried to balance that out as much as we could. We're not set up to really grow into canning or bottling in our current facility, but we hope to figure out some different ways down the road for that. Like there's a guy that does mobile canning, so he'll come in, pull up his equipment at night, can overnight, and then you can just send it right out. But that's going to be quite a ways down the road for us. We're not looking to really go into that too soon. So,
but you could in theory go into offering your beer at some other restaurants in town.
Oh yeah. Once we kind of find our routine and settle in, we've had a few inquiries already, and we're excited to start getting our product out there once we're super dialed and happy with what we're sending.
So what was the most unexpected thing that's happened to you so far? That with all your planning, Scott mentioned he ran into you a while back, and you were planning a couple of years ago to do this. What's the most unexpected thing that's happened so far?
Unexpected, I guess in a positive note, just the reception we've got from Missoula has been incredible. We've done very little to put ourselves out there, but just our building and our business model itself has given us a huge reception to Missoula. And that's been, I guess, I thought we'd have to work a lot harder to develop and to bring in the amount of people we've brought in so far. And so it's been really cool to see just people so ready for what we did.
And I was going to say, you have once again revalidated the age-old, axiom: location, location, location.
Yeah, absolutely.
When that was first announced, that was going to be a brew pub. I said, I don't even know how you scored that.
Right.
I thought condos were going to go in that piece of property, but that's like the perfect property downtown, given everything else that's going on.
Yeah, 100%. Well, when Andy's project comes online in late this year, early next year,
Residence Inn will have 200 and something people a night right around the corner.
Yeah, and then you got the student housing just a block
away.
Rome. We're literally 1 mile away from Washington Grizz Stadium. I mean, it's a killer location. We were like, there was like 3 or 4 other bids on that, and the guy that had the lot before us just loved the idea that we had, and so I think that kind of pushed us.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because I've heard that more and more, that people selling property are taking much more of an interest in what happens to their property afterwards, rather than just who has the best cash deal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. I think it definitely played a pretty strong hand, and us being the ones that came out with that lot.
No, that's amazing. Yeah. So can you source everything locally, or do you have to bring things in from other places?
We definitely have to bring some stuff in from other places, but we source a ton of stuff locally. Like I said, our pork belly we get from Lola Locker, which is sourced all from the Bitterroot. Oxbow Beef sources all of our beef products on the menu. Tucker Family Farms does a lot of our cheese and our lamb for our lamb burger. We do potatoes from Montana and Idaho for our fries. Wheat Montana for buns and bread. It just kind of goes on and on. Sweet Peaks ice cream, Kalispell Creamery.
Your grains and hops come from where?
Yeah, hops are a handful of different spots. That's a tougher one for Montana right now, but I think the more popular breweries are getting and beer is becoming, there's more farms popping up in Montana. So we have the opportunity to grab some stuff from the Bitterroot pretty soon here, and then we have a huge silo, a 27,000-pound silo in the back of our building, and we fill that with all Montana grain.
That's significant. Are you planning any Grizz-related activities and events to take advantage of that foot traffic that's going to be, going from downtown to the Grizz Stadium?
Yeah, we have talked with a guy named Mitch over there, who's kind of one of the marketing people for the Grizz, and we were working on doing some stuff with them, and as we've opened, I just have been trying to keep my head above water. And so we've kind of put that on the back burner for right now, but we definitely hope to do a lot in conjunction with them with just our location. And, like I said, I'm a local guy. I went to the U of M. So go Grizz.
Well, the sun rises and sets.
Right. And are you happy that Bobby Houck's back?
Yeah, I haven't really had a whole lot of time to put a lot of thought into it. There's definitely the mixed reviews on that, but I hope that the program can go in a. Well,
you were out when he was coach first time.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And so there's I hope that they clean up what they need to clean up, and it'll be awesome to see hopefully that mentality and the winning come back.
Spoken like a true fan.
Yeah,
that's right.
So, how did you decide to get involved even in food and services and that side, the services business?
Yeah.
What prompted you to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. A couple things. I guess kind of the art piece of it and the scratch made and creating something has always been very appealing to me. And growing up, my mom used to joke with me, like, if I didn't do good in school, I was just going to be a cook my whole life. And so I kind of was a little bit to spite that, I guess, maybe. Who knows?
Sure.
No, it's from just my interest and also kind of liking to please people and see, doing something and getting that positive reaction. It fit well with my personality.
But it's also interesting that, like, food in general has taken on a kind of a mythical level of interest to people, much like fashion or music.
Yeah.
It's an art, right? It's an art in what you're creating, and you're creating for many people, but to enjoy that art. And I'm curious, was it inspired at all by your upbringing with your parents coming from kind of, from Louisiana?
Yeah. My mom is from North Carolina. My dad's from Georgia, Atlanta.
Oh.
And, I mean, that had some inspiration to it for sure. And, I guess, growing up, I was very into a lot of art and took a lot of art in school, and I felt like the culinary side of things was a great way for me to express that piece of what I liked and enjoyed.
Sure.
Speaking of art, did you design the logo?
A little bit. We had a guy with Honeyacre Design in town, Mike Morawski. He's our guy behind all of our logo stuff, and we had a bunch of different ideas, and this one was kind of a fluke, but I don't know. It spoke out. It was bold and kind of a fun statement for our building. Is very industrial, kind of modern feeling too, and it fit right in with kind of our whole idea with what we wanted to be.
Yeah, it feels very established, the logo. It feels like it's been around, which is always a nice thing for a logo and a brand. The trust is there.
Just kind of that happy luck type, let's try this, and then he made a combo of our idea and something else we were trying for a smaller piece of it, and it just popped with that hop in the middle.
Let's do a quick ID. Our guest is Hugh Gates. He's the co-owner of Conflux Brewing over there on Patty Street. Is that what's the address?
Yeah, corner of Patty and Main Street, 200 East Main, downtown.
200 East Main, downtown. He's our guest on What Do You Know?
When we were kids growing up, in my case, the food industry didn't have the kind of visibility, that it had now. There were 2 or 3 known cooks who were all women at the time, who would be Julia Childs, for example.
Right.
But you didn't know, and you didn't care, and there wasn't any focus on it. Now, I mean, Anthony Bourdain passes away, and the whole world knows who he is.
Sure.
And on and on. Everybody, somebody, do you want to go to a Gordon Ramsay restaurant, or do you want to? I mean, it really has changed.
Yeah.
In terms of visibility and knowledge and preference and people paying attention to those sorts of things rather than just, this place is close nearby or it's cheap or it's
right.
And, you're fitting right into that by creating, a restaurant, gastropub, brew pub thing that has its own identity that people can differentiate between, some other places.
Absolutely. It's a calling card for you guys.
Yeah, no, we've tried, and we push ourselves and our other employees to work really hard to do the right thing and to differentiate ourselves from the other people. And so the local piece that comes in heavy. We hope in the future to have our own farm where we can do true farm to table type stuff. And with all the byproducts and everything we have, I mean, it sets us up for a lot of success down that road as long as we can keep a good sight line for it.
It reminds me of the conversation we had. And Arnie, here's a little bit of an update with Ellie and Orion Heyman,
right?
Okay, who were Firefly, and I say Firefly Catering. They have since moved on. They left Montana. They moved to Chicago to ply their trade in the restaurants and to really build their skill set there.
That's a really competitive restaurant marketplace.
Incredibly competitive, but their concept is consistent with what we've heard from other restaurateurs, which is the idea of having your own kind of harvest and your own kind of, farm for all, produce and meats and cheeses and everything. Orion actually studied under the owner of Blue Mountain, not Blue Mountain, gosh, why am I'm spacing?
Blue Heron?
No, Blue Hill.
Blue Hill. Yeah.
Blue Hill in New York. The whole concept of the table, the farm upstate that was supplying all of their restaurants back in New York. And that's nice to hear that you're thinking that way too.
Yeah, I think it's it's a good trend. Kind of that sustainability, the know what you get, where you get it from, and you know, the less travel, the less miles, the less certain stuff like that on our product. It helps. You can taste it. You can taste the difference, and it's huge.
Pretty soon, that with blockchain technology, you're going to have an egg, and it's going to say, Henrietta produced this egg 3 hours ago down in Stevensville, and
Right.
you know, here it is in your omelet. It's
Yeah.
fresh. Is there any contemplation with other locations at some point, or are you looking to stick to one?
We'll kind of see how it goes. You know, this is a massive undertaking, and so we don't want to push ourselves too fast and too far. We'll see. I mean, it would be fun to see if it can expand and what that idea might be. But you know, at the same time, we kind of want to be able to keep our focus local and strong, and
build on that.
Yeah, you grow too much too fast, and you kind of lose some of that.
Is there a plan to get some handles and some other like bars around town? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think once we can figure out just what we're actually serving in house and what our production needs to be to meet that demand, and hopefully there's a good demand for it, we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there. So, not really going to focus too strong on that right now, but in the next coming months, and probably as we get into wintertime, we'll start thinking about that a little more and talking to some of the local tavern owners.
I know you've only been open a short while, but has customer feedback pushed you in any kind of direction that maybe you didn't know about when you first opened the door?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, and also just you have your ideas, you have your menu, you try and cost things out, you look at it, and I guess we've actually accommodated some of our portion sizes and menu pricing to a little bit of the feedback from guests, and also just actually finally seeing what's coming out of our kitchen type thing. So we've actually changed our menu almost daily just to work on tweaking, and you know, we take feedback very seriously, and we want to make sure people feel like they're getting a great product, that they're happy with what they're getting, and
they're getting
they feel
enough
like
of it,
the bang for the buck is there for sure. So we're definitely watching reviews, listening to people, and you know, we want people to have a good time, and if they don't, we're going to do what we can to make it right.
I was just going to say, I'm just checking out your Facebook page. It's nice that you guys respond to every kind of comment and feedback. That's crucial.
No, we definitely try to. I mean, it's we want people to know that we're here for them. We're listening to them. We want to make sure that we can make as many people happy as we can. You're not going to win it all, absolutely, but
what about the gluten-free segment of the population? Have you got feedback you need a gluten-free beer, or has that not been as prevalent as it?
We have had a handful of calls for gluten-free beer, and asking about either gluten-reduced or gluten-free options on that side of things, and it's stuff we're having conversations about, and we'll kind of see what the demand is. You know, our system is a 15-barrel system, right, and that means we produce roughly 30 kegs per batch, and so that's a lot of gluten-free beer to go through. And so it's going to be a balance of if it's a good enough product, if we can sell it in a timely fashion so it's not sitting too long type thing. So if the demand is there, then we'll definitely do what we can.
The only hint I have in that arena is I have a friend of mine who's a huge beer fanatic, and he's gluten intolerant, and he's tasted
Is that right?
every gluten-free beer, and he said the one that tastes the most like real beer is a Spanish. He lives in Las Vegas. Is a Spanish gluten-free beer. He said it's the best by far. So in case you decide you don't want to, brew it, but you want to have it available, you could bring in, a Spanish beer, which would not interfere with your whole flow, and have it available, in bottles for those that ask for it.
That's a great idea. Is that possible, by the way, to do that?
So it's not. Our license is the brewery or the manufacturing license, and so we can only sell what we produce on site, and it's also limited to 48 ounces of beer per person per day. So we're kind of under, we can't bring in any products or wine. We've had a lot of wine questions from people, and sadly we can't do that either.
How about kombucha?
Yeah, we're working on trying to get some of that in as well. We're kind of sampling our way through what's available in Missoula and the Bitterroot, and we'll be bringing some of that in at some point for sure.
Do you think that as a lobby or as an association that the NBA can start lobbying for kind of a little more relaxation on those types of restrictions?
I think so. I've had a few conversations with the representatives here in town, and it sounds like they're always pushing for a little bit higher limit and a little bit later serving time. And I feel like that, the more breweries gain in popularity here, that we'll gain a little more traction. But I know that those are two things that are always going to be fought on pretty harshly.
Sure. Well, those rules were contrived in a different era.
Yeah.
They didn't have brew pubs.
Right.
They didn't have microbreweries, so they were trying to. They had a different rationale and purpose.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, the Tavern Association also is trying to really limit how far they can go with their services because it eats into, they spend a nice pretty penny to get a liquor license. They want to preserve the value of it. But I do think it's like, again, back to the rising tides lifts all boats.
Yeah.
I mean, if like the downtown is growing dramatically now that, this spurt of growth and it continues. More people walking downtown, biking downtown, spending time in town. And, all of these things that are happening down there with your place, with Sakatumi, with the Merc, with Rome, it's all about trying to keep people local, right? And stay local.
Absolutely. It's you go down on a Friday or Saturday especially, and I mean, it doesn't matter where you're going, you're going to be on a wait if you go to 7 o'clock to try and eat somewhere, if it's a bar, if it's a brewery, if it's a food truck or whatever. So
sure. Sunday night, 7 p.m., before the Pearl Jam concert, you could not get into any place downtown.
Yeah. No, you couldn't.
We had a 45-minute wait, and it was our second day open.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was nuts.
Was it purposeful to open before Pearl Jam just because you wanted to get the visibility?
We had,
because your official opening wasn't that, right? Wasn't your
our official opening was just this last weekend.
Right.
I'm a big Pearl Jam fan, so I was hoping that it would kind of be a little serendipitous there to hit that on that weekend. But I didn't want to crush our staff and crush ourselves and just get completely overwhelmed. And we did a lot of soft openings prior to it, and we got really lucky with just being able to tweak and adjust where we needed to and feel ready. And so, we opened up very soft opening. We didn't say anything for a couple days, and we were still doing hundreds of people a day. It was kind of crazy.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, Pearl Jam comes here for a Monday concert before the students are back in town.
Yeah.
And the economic impact. If somebody just did a study on the economic impact of Pearl Jam doing that concert, not just on Monday, but on the Saturday, Sunday, Monday night,
huge.
Tuesday.
It was nuts. I talked to a handful of restaurants and managers and people I know from the industry, and I mean, it was record-setting numbers. Every places.
How many? I sat next to a bunch of people. They were all from out of town.
Well, because they only do it. Well, they're only doing 4 concerts this year. And this is and they're not in places like Missoula. The other
they just done Seattle, I think.
Yeah, big football,
big somewhere else.
Major leagues.
Yep, Missoula got lucky.
But it just shows you, because that was very interesting for me to observe, because there was nothing else really going on. The students weren't back. There wasn't a football game the day before. There wasn't another a weekend event. It was a singular event that only holds 25,000. Right.
Yep. Right.
But it seemed like it had the impact of something like 100,000 people.
Yeah, no, it was
just crazy here,
and it was a great show.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I drug myself over there, and it was a lot of fun. They put on a great show, and I try to see them whenever they're here for sure. And it was a lot of fun, and they brought in a ton of people. I mean, downtown on Saturday, Sunday, and especially Monday was just insane.
Yeah. Well, that begs the question. What do you think about Missoula's growing music scene? I mean, as somebody who likes music, can you believe what's going on here?
It's nuts. We're doing like an event calendar to kind of just see what all's happening for the next 2 months so we can make sure we're planning and scheduling correctly and all that stuff. And it's crazy to see just how much is going on and how successful it's all doing, and that it seems to keep growing too. I mean, I think with how successful the Pearl Jam show was, I'm sure we'll see some more shows coming up at the university there.
Yeah.
To hear about the Osprey Stadium now undertaking with Log Jam and just the Kettle House, the Big Sky amphitheaters. I mean, they just seem to pack the house every time they do something, and it's almost like, where do these people come from that are supporting all this all the time?
I mean, we now have 500 seat, 900 seat, 1,500 seat, 3,500 seat, 10,000 seat, 25,000 seat venues in a town of 90,000 people.
Wow,
it really is pretty incredible. A lot of it has to be thrown at the feet of Nick Chikota,
absolutely
the visionary to put together this array. But we can attract almost any talent, and there is the capacity within Missoula and the drivable surrounding area to support these shows.
Sure,
a lot of us are sold out, and and then drive business to you and everybody else.
Oh, it's great for the local economy. Absolutely, to bring in dollars like that is awesome.
And we're a destination. I mean, look, let's face it. I mean, between here and Seattle, and Bozeman, between Bozeman and Missoula, Big Sky, and then Yellowstone. I mean, this is the place to go. And then talk about Flathead.
Well, it also gets people out of the house. I mean, there's lots of entertainment you can do in your house, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a bigger and bigger screen TV, 80 inches, 4 miles. I mean, the whole house is. But this gets you out, and when you go out, you're not just going to the concert and coming back.
Right.
You're out for the night. You go have beers beforehand. You eat some food. You go to the concert. You come back. You do it again. I mean, it becomes a community experience, and we have a huge appetite now because of all the venues to attract every age group and every genre of music in Missoula.
That's
it wasn't
true.
like that when you were in school. When I was at the university,
No,
you'd have 2 or 3
like
big events, and then you'd have the top hat pretty much, and every once in a while the Wilma. That was it.
Right.
Now it's every 3 times a week.
No, it's great. And Missoula has such a great culture for that, and just a great culture in general. It's neat to see that embrace and all the different types of musicians and just entertainment and arts and all that stuff.
And what's happening here. And let's talk a little bit about the shoulder season, because right now it's a great time for everybody because it's summer and people are just going to come here because it's a beautiful place to come. But once October rolls around. And
mid-October.
Yeah, mid-October rolls around, all the way to April, beginning of May. It's always going to be a challenge just to bring more visitors here. And certainly the music will help because there's going to be music at the Wilma and at the Denison and at the university, et cetera. But what are you planning to do to kind of plan for that season?
Yeah, we're hoping to do just more events type stuff, and like right now we're paired with Watson Children's Shelter and Clark Fork Coalition for kind of our grand opening in a couple months into our business, and we're going to continue to do stuff like that and community events, be super involved in.
Mm-hmm. Do you have space to do live music at your place?
I'm sure we do. I mean, our building is right around 10,000 square feet, and so we haven't really planned out where and how that's going to work, but once we settle into our routine, we're definitely going to try and bring some people in and see how that works out. But yeah, I mean, going into shoulder, I did a lot of talking with people that I know at different restaurants, especially downtown, and it seems like one of my old buddies worked at Plonk for a long time, and he's like, we actually didn't slow down in January at all. It was packed almost every night, and you expect this lull to kind of recoup, catch your breath, and he's like, it just wasn't here this year. And I think the amount of growth and development and people coming in to accommodate that is just nuts. And the inventory in Missoula, I don't know if it's quite where it is for the people that are in town. So
right.
And a lot of the growth is in the tech sector, and those people have more disposable income. And Applied Technology Group, which has 100+ employees, their average salary they're $77,000 a year, and they're younger people. They're probably average employees in their late 20s, early 30s. They're not cooking home 5 nights a week.
I have a handful of people I've worked with that are working over there now, and they've definitely been coming in and hitting us up and loving what we're doing. Yeah. It's awesome to see them.
That's fantastic. Are you thinking that because one of the things I think it's great to hear you say is you're throwing yourself into community efforts and community not for profits and get involved with things like Watson's or Clark Fork. Is there a specific kind of theme or kind of mission statement that you guys have, which other not-for-profits should know about when they're interested in working with you?
Yeah, we definitely want to be a supportive to just community nonprofits in general. But my fiance and I, we have 3 young boys, 5, 3, and almost 2 years old, and so we're hoping to gear especially toward, I guess, kid and family-orientated nonprofits, and so that's why Watson's was a no-brainer, and it was great. We got to go over and do some stuff with them, and they gave us a couple-hour tour, and we sat and talked a lot, and we definitely want to involve ourselves in more, as much as we can, like that for sure. And so we're very very into that type of nonprofit, and also looking to just do any really just community Missoula local supportive type stuff we can.
That's great to hear, and it's great. That's a way of really not just plonking, building your business in town, saying I'm here, but it's giving back to the community and having those connections to the community because it's your community. That's Absolutely. What differentiates businesses versus a chain that pops up on North Reserve that has no connection to the community.
Yeah, no, it's we know that Missoula, the community here, is supporting us, and so we want to support and give back and do the right thing on that side of things.
That's fantastic. Our guest is Hugh Gates, co-owner of Conflux Brewing. Back after this with some final words. All right, we are back with Hugh.
Hugh, let me ask you a couple of fundamentals. What are your hours and days that you're open?
Yeah, so we're open 7 days a week. We open at 11:30 a.m. and we're closed at 9. Our license allows us to serve beer up until 8 p.m. and you have till 9 p.m. to finish your beer, and then we have to pull it off the table. But we can still fill. We have crowlers, which are the individual cans, 32 ounces, which we can seal on the spot, or growlers, we can fill that until 9 o'clock as well.
That's great.
And let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this as we took our break. You're now running a business with 60 employees. How has that experience been? And were you prepared to take that on? I mean, it's a complex thing managing 60 people, sometime part-time, full-time. Service industry always has high turnover. What's your regimentation for dealing with that?
It's a lot. Like I said, we got super fortunate with our staff. We have a lot of really experienced and seasoned pros, and everyone is very professional in how they handle their business. And so it's been easier than I've thought. I guess my previous experience, I was a GM at Finn & Porter for a little bit there, and we had close to the same staff there. And so, I've had experience managing large groups of people, and I have like 5 people on our leadership team that I've worked with off and on years in experience, and so we have a very close relationship.
So you brought in some of your old crew.
Yeah, exactly.
Brought the old band back.
That's how it has to be.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's very super important to have people that you know and trust and know where their strengths are, so that you can accommodate where you need to.
And as you move forward, are there things that you have not implemented that you plan to implement?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely we want to progress a lot on the beer side of stuff, and we want to start having a lot of fun. On the food side of stuff as well, we want to really expand what we're doing and take it further and further and do more in-house, more flavors, more fun things. And one of those we're hoping to get into sometime this fall is doing beer dinners. We have a great space upstairs that can accommodate groups of 20, groups of 40, and in nice weather, even groups up to 100. So wow. We're hoping to get into doing some 4-course beer dinners, pairing specifically with our beers, and just having a lot of fun with that.
Nice. So how do people find out about it? What's your web address, your Facebook, all of that? How do people find you?
So confluxbrewing.com, our Facebook, Conflux Brewing Company, and Conflux Brewing on Instagram. And we try to post a couple times a week and kind of update on what's happening and be as interactive as we can.
That's tremendous.
And nice to see some good Yelp reviews, too. Yelp is growing out here. It's not taking off quite like it has back east.
Well, TripAdvisor is really the go-to for most people.
But Yelp's a tough one, too. But it's good to see that you guys are on there and you got some good reviews.
No, it's great. I mean, you go into it opening and you just you know that you're going to have some mistakes and some misses. And it's great to see that the general feedback has been fairly, I guess, consistent with.
Yes, it has been,
and that feedback is really important. I don't post on TripAdvisor all that often, but I was on a cruise and I posted on a restaurant I ate at on an island that we weren't supposed to stop at. Make a long story, just wandered into a place and it turned out and I posted, and I went back about 6 months later to look, and 5,000 people had read that post.
Wow.
Really?
5,000. It was like, so it
works.
It works. And if you have a good operation like it sounds, then you're going to get the good reviews, and then people are going to pay attention to that.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Particularly for tourists who are coming to town and trying to figure out where to go if they're only here for a night or two.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, it's been great talking to you.
Awesome.
Good
Thank
luck.
You very much.
We'll follow your growth very closely, and
come in and eat some food.
Definitely.
We will. Don't worry.
There won't be. There's no question about that.
Arnie, I'll see you next week.
Scott, take care.
Thank you for listening to What Do You Know?
I can't wait for the next show, Scott.
I'm excited too, Arnie. If you'd like to suggest a guest, send me an email at scottrichman@townsquaremedia.com. We'll see you next week. And thanks for listening to Newstalk KGVO.